Hey guys, what's going on? Joshua here from Future Filmmaker 2940 Reviews, where I talk movies, TV, and music. And I do this thing sometimes a lot on my channel, where it's a bunch of movies that I've seen, but I haven't, for one reason or the other, got around to reviewing. And since there's not as much movies coming out this year because, you know, everything is going on, I decided I would take the couple movies that I have seen over the year and do at least the first half of a review roundup. So basically, this is not only 2020 movie reviews catch up, but this is a review roundup. And I'm not sure how long this is going to be because I do have quite a few movies to talk about here. So with that being said, if you guys are new to the channel, be sure to hit the subscribe button and the bell to get notified when new videos are up, live streams, when I go live, or community posts, all that stuff. And otherwise, you're not going to get every single notification. Also, all my social media links are in the description box down below. And if you guys want to send money to my time, you can do that as well. Or send fan mail, you can DM me or email me as well. And with that being said, we're going to get started with the 2020 review roundup. The first movie we're going to talk about in this catch-up review roundup is a Disney Channel sequel to a Disney Channel original movie that came out in 2018. And that is Zombies 2, which stars Milo Mayhem and Meg Donnelly and is directed by Paul Hohen. And in the sequel to Zombies, we chronicle the continued adventures of Seabrook students Addison and Zed, whose budding nemesis are basically living together in peace, but is discovered by a astral werewolves. So going into this movie, when it comes to Zombies 2, I was interested. I was excited to see another Zombies movie. I liked the first one. I thought the first one was a nice, entertaining movie. And I have to say, for the most part, I did enjoy Zombies 2. But it was not as good as Zombies 1. I feel like the first Zombies was better. Because starting off with the positives here, I will say that the musical numbers and the way this movie looks, it is a well shot movie. This is the first Disney Channel original movie to be shot in a 2.351 aspect ratio. And I will say the choreography and the musical numbers are amazingly well done. I do love the song choices, but the songs, I feel like, were a bit of a step down from step 2 from the first movie. And I did like a couple of the songs that they did have in this movie. I did love almost all the songs here. And Meg Donnelly and Milo Mayhem are still really good as Addison and Zed. I still bought their chemistry. And the rest of the cast I still really liked, especially the characters for the werewolves. But when it comes to negatives here, I feel like my biggest issue here is that this is basically pulling a Disney Channel version of the Twilight Saga New Moon, where you have to bring werewolves, zombies, and humans into it. And then the werewolves aren't the most strongest aspect. I kind of feel like the werewolves were just kind of there. You don't really get much of the wolf side of things, and I feel like some of the other characters do get sidelined. Also, there were a couple subplots in this story that didn't really go anywhere. Particularly with Addison and this other love interest. I didn't really care for that. I thought that was pretty much non-existent. And also, I got very confused with some things in this script. Some of the decisions that they decide to go in some of the script, and also in some of the direction decisions that they decide to go in, I feel like that wasn't much handled strongly as I thought it should have been. But at the end of the day, I'm not going to put Zombies 2 down because I did enjoy it for the most part. It's just those couple of problems does kind of hurt this movie for me. But it's on Disney Plus if you want to watch it. If you want to watch a fun sequel to Zombies, that's pretty much disposable but disappointing. I would say watch it. I didn't hate Zombies 2, so it's a decent enough movie. So with that being said, I'm gonna give Zombies 2 highly recommend it. I didn't hate it. I didn't love it as much as the first one, but I enjoyed it enough to watch. And if they do Zombies 3, I'd be up for it, but I'd rather they not, because it's gonna get pretty tiresome. So with that being said, Zombies 2 is fine. Oh, next up here we have, man, I have a bad one already. We starting off with one of the worst pieces of shit that's come out this year, and that is The Last Thing He Wanted, which was directed by D. Russ, based on the book of the same name by Joan Dolan, and stars Anne Hathaway, Ben Affleck, Rosie Perez, and William Dafoe. And the plot of this movie is that a journalist steps in to stop the coverage of the 1984 U.S. presidency election so she could save her dying father. And that alone sounds like a pretty cool concept. You have a great cast here. Well, I just named off a few of the cast members, including Eddie Gathicati. What could go wrong when it comes to this movie? Well, pretty much everything went wrong with this movie, because this movie is one of the most uninteresting, one of the most dullest films of the year so far. I did not enjoy this movie whatsoever. I thought this was a very, very bad film with almost little to nothing going for it. Going on with the positive side of things, I guess I could say that the cast is good. Anne Hathaway, this is pretty much a step up from Serenity and The Hustle. Not her fault with those movies, but her characters were just not well written in those. Ben Affleck always does a great job too. Rosie Perez, I don't really mind. Eddie Gathicati was really good, and William Dafoe I liked. I can also say that at times there are some good moments here, but other than that, the script and direction this was one of the most confusing, ill-conceived scripts I have seen in a film. I didn't really get a conflict of things on either side of the spectrum. I thought that a lot of the character moments and a lot of the decisions that these characters make really brought this movie down. Also, this movie was boring. Pretty boring at lots of places. This movie was so boring. I didn't know what was going on when it comes to this movie, and just for the entire time I was just sitting on my phone uninterested. I was sitting on my phone and I was just checking my time. I'm like, when is this gonna end? When is this gonna end? When is this gonna end? Because it was that uninteresting. And a premise like this, like I just described, should not be uninteresting. It should not be the most uninteresting thing to do. But for some reason, this is uninteresting. It's dull, it's boring, and it's pretty freaking stupid for the most part. So I didn't really give two craps about anything when it comes to the rest of this movie. And it is pretty obvious that this movie was shot in another year and just dumped onto Netflix, because that's what this movie feels like. This movie feels like it's just dumped. But at the end of the day, guys, I don't recommend this. This is definitely the worst Netflix movie so far this year. And that is saying something, because I did not see 365 Days or the Last Days in America, or whatever the hell that movie's supposed to be, directed by Olivia Megaton. I did not see those, but this is the worst of the worst here, and it is horrible. Aside from a few positives with the performances and a few times with the political thriller aspects, could have been a lot better, but this is just not a good movie. So I'm just gonna recommend you skip it. Now we got that bad one out of the way. Is kind of here getting us back into something good. So let's get into this one. Guns Akimbo, which stars the likes of Daniel Radcliffe and Samara Weaving, and tells the story of a video game developer named Miles, who individually becomes the next participant in a real life or death match that streams online. When he soon excels at running away from everything, it doesn't help him outlast Nyx, who is a killer at the top of her game. So they both have, he has to basically get help and find his way out of this little traffic jam of a situation. Now, Guns Akimbo, just the title and just the poster alone with Daniel Radcliffe with a gun, his bed coat, and fuzzy slippers. That, I said, okay, this is like a ridiculous fun time. And sure enough, it was a ridiculous fun time. It's not perfect. I am aware of the controversy surrounding the director, but nowadays, who doesn't have controversy, okay? I have to say that I very much had a fun time with this movie. I thought it was fun, I thought it was awesome, I thought it was entertaining, and for the most part, I enjoyed myself with this. It wasn't a masterpiece. It's like, oh my god, this movie's a 10 out of 10. Yeah, no. It was a fun, stupid, silly, dumb, entertaining movie with action. And the action scenes are well done. I do like the action scenes in this movie. I do think the action scenes are the best entertaining parts of the movie. Also, this movie is shot very well. This is a well shot, a well lit, framed movie filled with so much high octane extravaganza and ridiculousness. Yeah, extravaganza and ridiculousness that I was just willing to sit there and go along for the ride. Also, direction is very nice by Jason Lee Howden. The writing in some spots is a little sketchy, but for the most part, I do very much enjoyed what this movie had to offer. It ran at a pretty fast pace, an hour and 35 minutes. Action scenes were very well done. I think the performances were really good. Daniel Radcliffe continues to show me why he is still my favorite actor outside of Harry Potter. And I've been liking this guy ever since Harry Potter, and he is good in this movie. And also Natasha Liu Bunizilla, I thought, however you say her, Bunizzo, she does a really good job as well, and Samara Weaving does a really great job. But a little question: is it just me, or does she look a lot like Margot Robbie? Like, look at this picture. You can't tell me that they don't look alike. And also, Samara Weaving, she's a pretty great actress. I've been following her since The Babysitter. I can't wait to see what else she does. I'm pretty sure she's in The Babysitter 2, Part 2, which is coming out. But honestly, I have to say, I enjoyed a lot of the movie. It's pretty much my type of movie. It's crazy, it's ridiculous, it's zany, it's over the top, but it knows what it is. It does have some writing issues here and there, but all in all, I did enjoy Guns Akimbo to a certain extent. It's a fun action comedy, get you straight in, get you straight out. And with that being said, I enjoyed Guns Akimbo. So with that being said, this is Guilty Pleasure Movie of the Week, so I haven't done a Guilty Pleasure Movie of the Week thing in a long time. So with that being said, I'm gonna go ahead and give this a slight stream mix, because I enjoyed the movie. I didn't love it, but I enjoyed it. It knows what it is. Next up, in this review roundup, we have The High Note, which stars Tracee Ellis Ross, Dakota Johnson, and Ice Cube, and this is directed by Nisha Ganatra. And set in the dazzling world of the LA music scene comes the story of Grace Davis, who is a superstar whose talent and ego has reached unbelievable heights. and Maggie is her overworked personal assistant who is stuck running errands but still aspires to a childhood dream of becoming a music producer. When Grace's manager presents her with a choice that could alter the course of her career, Maggie and Grace come up with a plan that could change their lives forever. Now, going into the high note, I saw the trailer. I was like, this was fun. It looks good, but a little suspicious. But when it comes to the cast here, I will say the cast had my attention. You have Tracee Ellis Ross, Dakota Johnson, and you have Ice Cube in here, so what could go wrong? And surely enough, I enjoyed the high note. It was fun. It was a good movie. It was a pretty fun movie. I did like it. I liked the chemistry between Dakota Johnson and Tracee Ellis Ross. I think their chemistry, as well as Ice Cube's performance, as well as the rest of the cast, Kelvin Harrison Jr., they sell this movie on what basically you're gonna get. And also you have Bill Pullman and Zoe Chow. I think the performances in this movie are really nice. I do like the performances, but mainly Dakota Johnson, Tracee Ellis Ross, and Ice Cube. Tracee Ellis Ross is a great actress. She's been around a lot. Girlfriends, Daddy's Little Girls, you name it. I like her as an actress. I liked her ever since Girlfriends, and she's really good in this movie as Grace, the singer. Dakota Johnson is also another great actress who's been in a lot of things. The Social Network, the remake of Suspiria, Bad Times at the El Royale, and most recently the Peanut Butter Falcon. I know she was in the 50 Shades trilogy. I have not seen those movies, but I have seen clips and reviews, and from what I've heard, I'm not really missing much, even though she's the best thing of those movies. And Ice Cube, he's a great actor and a great rapper, so of course I was obviously gonna like him. But the way that they play on this with the comedy and music is very nice, it's very interesting, and it was very intriguing to say the least. And I do like the romantic aspect of this movie with Tracee Ellis Ross and the love interest. I thought they had really good chemistry too. A lot of the jokes in this movie really worked for me, and the way the direction and the writing works, I think the direction and writing works very well to this degree. And also I did really enjoy seeing the whole scenery of LA and how LA is depicted, and seeing these characters. I do love the cinematography aspect too as well. It's a very well shot, a well lit movie. I will say that for a comedy film like this, it is an hour and 53 minutes too long. There were some moments that did drag out, and I did kind of felt that. And there were a few times where there were some things in this movie that didn't really pan out for me that well. But at the end of the day, I still thought that this was a very enjoyable, entertaining movie that I enjoyed myself with. It's not going to win awards or anything like that, but this is easily a pretty much entertaining film. And without doubt, I will say that if you're looking for a good romantic musical movie with Tracee Ellis Ross, you can watch this on Blu-ray, watch it on digital, watch it at home. And I will say the high note, I'm gonna give the high note an Epictastic because I did enjoy watching it. I have fun. Now, next up, we do have to talk about this one, and that movie is Capone, which is written, produced, and directed by Josh Trank, and is a biographical film, and stars Tom Hardy, Linda Cardellini, and in this movie, Tom Hardy plays the notorious gangster Al Capone, or Fonzie. And in this movie, we follow the final days of his life as he succumbs to dementia and relives his past through his tormenting memories. And so, when it comes to Capone, I saw a trailer for this, and I'm like, a movie about Al Capone. This seems awesome. And also Tom Hardy, great actor, great actor. And also the rest of the cast was really good. And also Josh Trank making his return after what he went through with Fan Forestick, which was not his fault. And would this be the movie to put Josh Trank back on the map? And while Josh Trank, he tries, I would have to say that Josh Trank, I'm still waiting for him to have his 100% comeback film. But Capone, I don't know how to describe this movie. I don't know how to describe my thoughts on Capone. I will start off with the positives, and I will say that Tom Hardy as Capone, he's both good and pretty bad. I'm not sure what he's going for with his version of Capone, but I think he does the best he can for what is given. And also Josh Trank's direction and editing, you can tell that this is all him, because he had a very unhappy experience making the Fantastic Four movie from 2015. It's well documented, even he said it himself. And you can tell that this is sort of a passion project for him. And he does a really great job in this movie as this character. And I think he does, I mean, as far as direction goes. Writing, however, is a whole nother story. But I will say that the direction and editing is very odd. The editing in this movie is odd, because one minute you have flashbacks, then you have all this crazy stuff with him and his final days, and then including one moment in the movie which he does. It's been talked about in other reviews, but I think you know where I'm trying to go with this. And also the accent that Hardy puts on as Capone is like, yeah, I'm not sure where he's going for this. I'm not sure where he's going for this. Part of me thinks he's doing this on purpose. Part of me thinks he's having fun with it, and part of me thinks he's trying to bring some life into this movie, which pretty much does kind of make this movie watchable. But the rest of the cast, including Linda Cardellini and Matt Dillon and Kyle MacLachlan, even Josh Trank himself, I think all the rest of the cast members does a great job in what they're given. But I feel like that when it comes to writing wise and story structure and editing wise, this movie's kind of all over the place. It's because you have all these different confrontations with visions of regret of the man he killed, violent acts, and then him suffering through dementia and all these tormenting memories. I feel like that was interesting. He was doing something right there, but it wasn't handled enough, and we didn't get enough of that. I feel like that is a bit of a waste of potential when it comes to this movie here. So I'm not sure where I stand on this movie. This is kind of like guilty pleasure, but also pretty bad. But I'm not sure where I stand with it. Is because of Tom Hardy. Basically, I don't know what he's doing with this part of Capone, and because Josh Trank, he was trying. I will be fair, and I'm gonna give this a middle badly. It's not horrible, but it's nowhere near as Josh Trank's first movie, Chronicle. Keep pulling through, Josh Trank. I believe you. Up is we have Valley Girl, which is a remake of the original 1980s film of the same name, and of course based on the play of the same name. It stars Jessica Rothe, Josh Whitehouse, Mae Whitman, Logan Paul, and Judy Greer, and it follows Julie Rickman, who is a Valley Girl who falls in love with Randy, who's a rebellious punk during the early 1980s. Now, going into this, I have not seen the original Valley Girl. I'm not sure if it's better than this, but I will find out once I see it. But I will say, going into this, I kind of enjoy this movie. I did enjoy the movie. Valley Girl was a pretty entertaining musical film for the most part. Biggest positive I have to say is Jessica Rothe. Jessica Rothe is a great actress. Happy Death Day 1 and 2, and her in this movie, because of her singing and her acting performance alone, is the reason to watch this movie. She does a great job when it comes to the performances and when it comes to the character that she is playing. And Alicia Silverstone does a good job as the older Julie Rickman. Also, Josh Whitehouse's Randy I thought was pretty good. I did enjoy Chloe Bennett as well as Judy Greer and Robert Hubo as the parents. And Peyton List and Randall Park I enjoyed. And I also enjoyed Ashley Murray in this movie. However, the worst casting choice in this movie was Logan Paul. I feel like he's way too over the top in this movie. But I will say the acting, for the most part, from everyone else in this movie is good. I do like the acting from everyone else. They each do a really great job when it comes to it. I gotta say, the musical numbers are very well done. I do love the musical numbers here. I think the musical numbers are very entertaining. They're very fun. They're catchy to listen to. Dance choreography. And I felt the chemistry between the two leads, Julie and Randy. I buy the chemistry. Because this is a jukebox romantic comedy musical. And I will say that Rachel Lee Goldenberg does a good job in what she set out to do when it comes to this movie. And this movie did have controversies surrounding Logan Paul, which was the reason why this movie was delayed until 2020, because this was supposed to come out in 2018. And that is one of the biggest mistakes, that it does feel like this movie is delayed so many times. It does kind of hurt the movie. Also, some of the other characters, some of the other casting choices I didn't really care too much for. And also, I felt like there were some parts in this movie where I was sitting there kind of bored a little bit. But as this movie went on, the cast and some of the comedy, even though some of it didn't work, and also a lot of the musical numbers, for the most part, kept me watching. It kept me watching. I wasn't bored. I wasn't like in love with the movie, but all in all, I will say that Valley Girl, because of the performances, because of the musical numbers, and because of what this movie was trying to do to be a serviceable remake of the 1983 original, which I'm pretty sure is probably better, I say I enjoyed myself with it a lot more than I expected it to. So with that being said, I'm gonna go ahead and give Valley Girl a highly recommended, because it's an entertaining movie. It's entertaining at best. It's not gonna win awards or anything like that, but it's a decent enough film. Continuing with the last three in this review roundup, and then we will end this. So, next up here is Color Out of Space, which is based around The Color of Outer Space by H.P. Lovecraft, and is directed by Richard Stanley, which this is his first movie in a long time. So when it comes to Color of Outer Space, the plot of this movie is after a meteorite lands in the front of the yard of their farm, Nathan Gardner and his family find themselves battling a mutant extraterrestrial organism that infects their minds and bodies and transforming their quest rural life into a technicolor nightmare. So that premise alone pretty much tells you what this is going to be. Of course, this is based around H.P. Lovecraft, so I heard reviews of this movie and I decided to give it a shot. And Color of Outer Space, I loved it. I loved Color Out of Space. It's a pretty interesting, original sci-fi cosmic horror film directed by Richard Stanley. And based on its source material, I think it does pretty well with its source material. And this is supposed to be the first in a trilogy of Lovecraft adaptations, which he hopes to follow up when it comes to the Dunwich horror, which I can't wait to see that after seeing this, because this is pretty awesome. I do love the premise. I do like the idea of this meteorite coming and these creatures they have to deal with that takes over your mind and takes over the world, what they do. And I do like that premise. I do like what they were going for with it. I think it does is promised very well on terms of that. I love the premise here. It's very fun, it's very original. I think it's very awesome, and I think for the most part it 100% does its job very well, and I think that it really does do exactly what I feel like it should do. And I just have to say that it was a really interesting horror cosmic fun time. Nicolas Cage and the rest of the cast I really do like, and Nicolas Cage is a great actor. Yes, he's had some problems in there having to make movies to pay off his little debts, but Nicolas Cage is a great actor when you give him the right material. Sometimes he's not always gonna hit lightning in a bottle, but for every misfire he can always find a good gem, and he does a great job here in this movie, as well as the rest of the cast. Jolie Richardson I thought was really great. I thought that Madeline Arthur and Brendan Meyer were also really great. Tommy Chong, all of the cast in this movie was great. Richard Stanley's direction I thought was really well done, as well as the writing and the cinematography aspects. And I felt like that the concept was used to its full advantage. You do have some good horror elements. We do have some good cosmic sci-fi elements, and this movie knows what it is. This movie doesn't shy away to being anything else. This movie knows 100% what it is. It knows what it sets out to do, and it does its job very well. The music is really nice. I do like the way the technical aspects and the colors and the visual aesthetics does bring into it a lot. And I do think that they play on with some pretty interesting stuff going on in this movie. So pretty much I enjoyed the movie a lot more than I thought I was going to. However, there were a few moments here that I felt like were a little ridiculous, and I felt like were a little too much. I'm like, really? But at the end of the day, Color of Outer Space was still a fun movie. It was still an entertaining watch, and I wouldn't mind watching it again. I very much loved Color of Outer Space, and I'm gonna give Color of Outer Space an Epictastic. Now we get on to these last two, which are two one is not too bad. Well, both of these are kind of disappointing. So next up is Superman Red Son, and Superman Red Son is based on the graphic novel of the same name. It is the 37th installment in the DC Universe animated original movie series, and in Superman Red Son it is set in the thick of the Cold War, and Red Son introduces us to a Superman who has landed in the USSR during the 1950s and grows up becoming a Soviet symbol that fights for the preservance of Stalin's bread of communism instead of the symbol of hope. So I will say from that moment alone, is that I found to be the most interesting aspect of the story. And I will say that the voice acting is really good here, from Jason Isaacs, aka Lucius Malfoy, Roger Craig Smith, Deidre Bader, Amy Acker, Vanessa Marshall, Paul Williams. And I will say that the action for what is given is really nice. And I will say that the movie does do a good job at doing what it's supposed to do. Other than that, I didn't really care too much for Superman Red Son. I felt like you had something good going on, but then somewhere along the way, this movie just went into a whole another direction. It's like you put this movie high up on a pedestal and then boom, just, because that's basically how I felt like as I was watching this. I felt like the impact wasn't as strong, and the story was not as strong with some of the other stuff, like Lois and Lex being married. I didn't really care too much for that. Also, some of the stuff with the Superman stopping the invasion and Lex Luthor becoming president, all of this is interesting, but it's not done 100% well. Then also we have to talk about Superior Man, because I hated Superior Man in this. I know this is based on the comic, but I kind of feel like you just went in your own different direction there. And it just felt like that somebody just gave him the keys to the kingdom. The keys to the kingdom, because this is pretty much exactly what I knew what was gonna get myself into when it comes to a movie like this. I knew that this was gonna be pretty much not the Superman movie. I knew, but it did have some good moments. But at the end of the day, I'm not really recommending Superman Red Son unless you're a Superman fan. Again, good ideas here, but not very well structured and not very well handled. So with that being said, I'm just gonna have to say, yeah, I'm debating on the rating, because I did enjoy the voice acting and the animation, the action sequence, and the interesting idea. But other than that, I just felt like there should have been more to it. So honestly, when it comes to this movie, I'm gonna be fair and I'm gonna say you can watch it you can stream this thing. If you're just online or find it somewhere, watch it. But I wouldn't pay full price for a Blu-ray or 4K or a DVD copy of this. Now the last movie in this first part of the 2020 review roundup is the rhythm section. The rhythm section stars, of course, Blake Lively and Sterling K. Brown and Jude Law, and is directed by Reed Morano. And this is produced by Barbara Broccoli and Michael G. Wilson, the producers of the James Bond series, and this is based on the book of the same name by Mark Burnell. And in this movie, Blake Lively plays Stephanie Padrick, and she veers down a path of self-destruction after a tragic plane crash that kills her family. When Stephanie discovers that it wasn't an accident, she soon embarks on a bloody quest for revenge to punish those responsible. So, when it comes to the rhythm section, Reed Morano is a great cinematographer and director, and I loved her previous directorial efforts of Meadowland and I Think We're Alone Now, which two great movies you definitely should see if you haven't, especially Meadowland with Olivia Wilde. But when it comes to this movie, she did great once again in directing, and the cinematography was really well done. And I will say that the action scenes are very well done, and Blake Lively is really great, as well as Jude Law and Sterling K. Brown. But besides that, I felt like the writing in this movie was a bit of, the writing was just there. I didn't really get much out of the villain of the movie or why you get the reason why she wants to do what she does. I feel like it could have been explored more, and I feel like we could have gotten more of her family life before the tragic accident. I'm not saying that Reed Morano's direction isn't bad, because her direction is great. I do love her direction here, but it just felt like when it comes to writing and characterization, it doesn't really do enough to make you get invested. And also, this movie was quite boring a lot of times, and unfortunately it was boring in some of the weaker aspects of the film. But I'm not trying to say this was a terrible movie, because it isn't. In fact, I do enjoy the movie enough. Having sat on the movie more, I just felt like with a director like Reed Morano and Blake Lively, this is pretty much a decent, somewhat spy movie with a female character. But I kind of feel like there should have been a lot more to it. I'm not going to say too much more on the rhythm section, but I will say if you're in the mood for a decent enough film, I would say watch it. But you won't like it. It's not a movie you're gonna like, oh my god, I will buy it on Blu-ray. It's a time waster movie at best, but at the end of the day, I will say you can wait to watch this movie on Netflix. Well guys, that was my first half of 2020 reviews roundup. I've been so far behind with reviewing 2020 movies, not only because I've been focusing on older stuff, but also because a lot of stuff has been pushed back to 2021. But anyways, I do hope you enjoy this review roundup. If you like what you see here, be sure to hit the subscribe button and the bell, get notified to whenever live streams comes along, videos, and post on my community tab comes. And without further ado, I'll see you guys in the next review. You guys keep it cool, join the Epictasticness. Comment down below if you've seen any of these movies or what you think, and I'll see you guys in the next one.